I had a former hockey coach when I was playing say to us one time. Michael, 99% of people in this world live a life of hiding in plain sight. Hiding in plain sight. And I was a young guy, I was a teenager then, and I didn't really understand what he was talking about. But he said, you'll live a life of authenticity, or he said, you'll be like the 99% of men that walk this planet, a life of quiet desperation. Or he said, or men who are hiding in plain sight. And my grandfather, as I've shared before, had a great saying. He said, men that are hiding in plain sight, or men that have checked it out, or aren't showing up as the husbands we should be, or the fathers we should be, or the leaders we should be. He said, 99% bootlickers. He used to say, it doesn't matter how much money you make, but when you're an entrepreneur, when you're a businessman, he said, at least you're not a bootlicker. He says, you make your own hours, even if you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. He said, at least I'm not a bootlicker. He says, I make my own rules. I live by my own terms. He said, I'm my own man. I don't work for the man. And I'll never forget that. And that was a man who was working 7 days a week, every single day, 14 hours a day, like my dad every day but Christmas. And as hard as those men worked, my grandfather and my dad, at least, they had the freedom. At least they were working for themselves. And what I teach here, of course, is getting it all together, where not only can you make a 6 and 7 figure income, but you can also do it on your own terms, where you build your business around your life, not your life around your business. And then you build your own world. You invite your own people into your world. You create the business of your dreams. It's all connected. Your marriage, your relationship with your children. There's no silos in badass world building. There's no success financially or in business that will ever compensate for failure in the home. So what I teach world building is about having it all. Having it all. Yes, you can have a 7-figure business. Yes, you can have a marriage that's on fire. Yes, you can have a special connection with your children. Yes, you can be in the best physical and mental shape of your life. And yes, you can move your life from just success to significance, so that your grandkids and your great-grandkids will know your name, know who you were, and know your legacy and what you stood for. Yes, you can have it all, but you can't do it hiding in plain sight. I think about what you see today. You see 99% of husbands and fathers and businessmen, every day they wake up and they're sedating and they're medicating and they're distracting themselves in their phones, and professional sports are addicted to politics, they're addicted to news, they're cell phone junkies, and it's all because they can't stand what they see staring back in the mirror in the morning. That's what it all comes down to, the medication, the sedation, married, a roommate with a ring. The relationship is disconnected with the children. They're buried in their phones. There's no connection physically. God has taken a back seat. Physical fitness has taken a bad seat. 99% of men can't wait till, work's over so they can have a drink. And, I've been down that road where, you think you're successful, but basically you're just hiding in plain sight. You're not living an authentic life. You're not living an authentic life. You can't stand the reflection in the mirror because you know that you're not showing up as a man. You're not showing up as a husband. You're not showing up as a father. You're not showing up as a leader in the community. You're just walking and hiding in plain sight. And that's the life of the quiet desperation, right? Every day, you die just a little bit more. Every day you just die a little bit more. Another piece of you dies off. And that's the life of the quiet desperation. And the opposite of that is, of course, the badass world building lifestyle where clear is kind. You're 100% honest with yourself. You admit your mistakes. You admit your past mistakes. You admit your mistakes with your marriage, your business, your children, and you take 100% accountability for not showing up, and you change that instantly. And all of a sudden you start showing up as a man, you start showing up as a king, you start showing up in your marriage, you start showing up for your children, your grandchildren, you start taking your physical and mental health seriously and no longer for granted. You curate and swift sort out the toxins in your life, toxic people, toxins like alcohol and drugs, toxins that are an attack on your family. Gambling is an attack on your family and manhood. Pornography is an attack on your manhood, your marriage, and your family. Cell phone addiction is an attack on your manhood, on your marriage, on your fatherhood. These things are toxins that are put into our lives, and if we don't head the opposite direction of the 99%, we end up hiding in plain sight. You know, men that are buried in their phones or buried in busyness or, you know, working these grueling hours, and then they come home and, you know, they're lost in their family. They're lost in their own home. When they're at home, they feel guilty that they're not working. When they're working, they feel guilty that they're not at home. And it's just an endless cycle of depression and anxiety, an endless cycle of lack of peace of mind. You can't sleep. You're just never at peace with yourself. And what I teach here is the exact opposite, where the king rises you and you claim your kingdom. And you clean up all the toxins in your life, all the people and all the things that no longer serve you. But you refuse to hide in plain sight. You look around at the men you see in every day and you're just like, man, that person hasn't had an honest discussion with themselves in decades. They haven't taken a deep breath in decades. They're just trying to get through the day. They're a slave to their thoughts. They're a slave to their job. They have a Frankenstein business, and you know they're in a hole of unhappiness that can't even be described. And when you decide to simplify your life and start living the badass, you know, world builder, all of a sudden it's a totally different game. You get up in the morning and you play offense. You get up in the morning and you play to win. You win the mornings. You conquer the chaos in the afternoon, and you invest present time with the people that matter most to you in your world in the evenings. And that's what I teach in my masterminds at a very high level. I talk about this stuff in my videos. I talk about it in my book. I talk about it in my monthly newsletter with my brothers. But at the end of the day, to go from knowing to doing takes a mastermind. And that's what it took for me to go from 5 figures. I was going broke in the consulting business. I was struggling in the insurance business. And when I joined Bill Glazier and Dan Kennedy's $30,000 mastermind, my life just transformed. Not just my business, but I went from 5 figures to 6 figures the first year. And then I went to 7 figures within 2 years being in that $30,000 mastermind. I started spending time with men that made 7 figures. Within 2 years, I was making 7 figures. I started hanging out with marketing mavericks. All of a sudden, I became a marketing maverick. I hung out with men and women that would read a book a week, 50 plus books a year. I started reading a book a week. I hung out with guys that would spend, 45 minutes walking in the gym every day. They were in great physical and mental condition. All of a sudden, I got in great physical and mental condition. And my association those 2 years with the Michael Cages and the Beth Davises and the Russell Brunsons and the Dan Kennedys and the Bill Glaziers, it just transformed my life without me really even knowing it. I was awash in abundance. I was awash in big thinking. I surrounded myself that were people that were further down the road than me. And it was just like magnetic. Success was magnetic. Money became magnetic to me. Marketing success became magnetic. Fitness and health became magnetic. And when you talk about, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, well, if you're struggling right now in 2022, you're not going to change anything in the new year unless you upgrade your social circle. So what better way to upgrade your social circle than to immerse yourself and get joined at the hip with 49 elite, generous, and driven businessmen like you? So literally, you'll become magnetic to money, magnetic to success, magnetic to excellence, magnetic to peak performance, because you got 49 people holding you accountable. And on top of that, you have a son of a bitch coach like me who's in your world, holding you accountable, pushing you to do better, and holding you accountable to the group. It's like, like everybody on this earth that is a high peak performer, anybody who's a peak performer, business, the arts, music, athletics, they all have coaches, high level coaches. You name me one person. Warren Buffett's got a coach. Walt Disney had a coach. Coaches even have coaches. And how do you think that you're a lone wolf, that you're going to go alone? How do you think you're going to build a world from a book or from a newsletter? Those are ideas, but implementation takes association. When you're joined at the hip with 49 other elite men plus a coach that's going to push you, ideas become implementation. Success becomes significance. And all of a sudden, it's like, wow, I'm pushed out of my comfort zone, but I'm loving, growing, and contributing and helping others. And if you do the work, ask anybody that's worked with me for 8 weeks in this program, I'm talking 12 months now, their lives were transformed in 6, 7, 8 weeks max. Transformed. Their wives are like, holy, what happened? And in a good way. And you can talk to those guys. You can talk to the Bill Gauge. You can talk to the Paul Noltes. You can talk to the Jimmy LaFaves. You can talk to any of those guys. 8-week program. I'm doing the same program plus over 12 months. Can you imagine the year you're going to have? Especially when 99% of businessmen are being told by mainstream news, by anti-social media, by big tech, by big pharma, they're being told to be scared shitless. Be scared shitless. Go home, put a mask on, and hide under the bed. Get in the fetal position for the next 3 years. There's nothing you can do about it. The White House will take care of it. As opposed to being around 50 elite men who are like, this is a golden opportunity like no other over the next year to 3 years. This is the opportunity to play offense like never before. This is the opportunity to think bigger than you've ever thought. This is the opportunity to get in the best physical and mental health of your life. This is an opportunity to absolutely transform your world over the next year to 3 years. When everybody else is hiding, we're dominating. And that's the badass way. When everybody's on their heels, we're on our toes. When everybody's scared shitless, we're swinging for the fences. We're going to go for home runs over the next year. We're going to go for grand slams over the next 12 months. I've never been more excited than the next 12 months coming up, because 99% of people aren't excited, which means I need to be excited. I need to be reading. I need to be associating with elite men. I need to be swinging for the fences. I need to get up every day and play offense. And that's what I'm doing in my personal life and in my business life. I'm playing to win like never before. If you want to play to win, there's still some spots left, 50 men maximum. Badassworldbuilders.com, badassworldbuilders.com. This is the last time I'll ever price a mastermind under 10 grand. Never again. $25,000 next year will be the price of this mastermind, and then I'll have my champions, which is at 50, and then I'm going to have another one at 100 and one at 250 grand for maybe one or two guys. So this is your last opportunity to get in at when I'm doing a beta test. I'm in the first year of doing these. This is the first 12-month mastermind I've done with my new company. So this is an opportunity for you to get a true bargain price. After this, 25 grand. So if $9,800 is too much for you to 2x your world and your business, then you don't belong. You don't belong in this neighborhood anyways. You know, you don't belong in this neighborhood anyways. But if you think this is a stretch, just think about how this one decision can change your entire life over the next 12 months. You're not going to do it with a book. You're not going to do it with a newsletter. Sure, you'll have victories, but we're talking about grand slams here. Masterminds are about grand slams, about total transformation of your life, a brand new world. You barely recognize yourself in 12 months. That's my goal as your coach. Ask anybody who's been a part of any program that I've run. They can barely recognize themselves within 8 weeks. Can you imagine 52 weeks? Badassworldbuilders.com. Fill out the 5 questions, takes 1 minute. Put down your deposit, $97. I give you the money back. It's just to show me you're not a tomato can. Tomato cans won't pay $97. They're time wasters. I get rid of them with small deposits. So you fill in the form. I look at your application. I'll be back to you in 7 days. You're in or you're out. Maybe I'm the coach. Maybe I'm not. Maybe you're a good fit. Maybe you're not. But at least you applied and got in the game. Badassworldbuilders.com. That's it. Just remember, do what I do at the end of the day is hug your children and hug your wife. You'll all feel a lot better. And it's a highlight of my day. It's a highlight of my day. We have 2 family hugs. We have a family hug, a team hug when we leave for school and work, and we have a team hug when we all come home together. The 2 most important parts of my day. That's my reason why. That's my reason why. Without those hugs, I'd lose my way. I wouldn't even know what I'm doing standing out on a dock shooting a video. So make sure you keep your children close, you keep your queen close to you, and that you show up. There's no more hiding in plain sight. Show up as the best version of you every single day. Enough is enough. If the king doesn't rise, the kingdom dies. Enough is enough. We've all been given an incredible gift from God. I call it a tour of duty. Well, that tour of duty is your gift to become the best husband, father, community leader, and entrepreneur. Anything less is a disgrace. Anything less is shameful. Show up as the man you were intended to be and that you can be. Absolutely, positively, the king, when the king rises, so does the kingdom. And make sure that you're showing up as the best version of yourself every single day. That's it. 2 words that changed my life. 2 words that'll change your life. Be relentless.